Open Notes test. I just want to talk a little bit about what I would recommend for using for your open notes and test materials. So the first thing is definitely have your equation sheet, and I would even recommend like adding little bits of information to it that help you either use those equations or maybe some units on all of the variables, something along those lines. So down here at the bottom, I did an example. I just did a couple things. So one of them is I don't have the parallel axis theorem, so I put that on there. And I really don't like the way they wrote their equation for the moment of inertia. So I rewrote it over here. So those would be some things that I would recommend putting on your equation sheet. Is equations you're more comfortable with or equations that are just missing, things like that. Right. Next, definitely have that terms sheet in case you forget anything, like what does determine mean again? What is justify mean again? It's a good thing to have there just in case you forget any of those things. Make sure you have some graph paper on hand, or just make some graph paper for yourself so that if you do have to make a graph on the final test, you aren't trying to build the graph, it's already there. And have a ruler for drawing best fit lines. That's a helpful thing to have. Make sure you have plenty of paper, and I would recommend only using one side so that you don't have to flip it over to kind of look for your previous work. You can just see it on the other sheet there. Now, a couple things to kind of note here. Time is crucial. You guys might not be familiar with open note tests. So open note tests, you can have a book, you can have the internet, you can have everything you want. The problem is that it's a lot of material to sift through if you don't know the answers. So knowing the material is essential, because otherwise you're going to waste your whole time looking up answers and not writing down the answers. So the key idea here is time is crucial, less is more. So make sure you have just kind of the essentials like this equation sheet, kind of the bare minimum stuff. The rest of it you should have kind of memorized or have known. So a good way to do that, and a lot of people will say this even about their chem note sheet, is that I made it and I didn't use it. Well, that's because you studied it, and how you studied it was you made that note sheet. So that might be a good idea here. So what I did is if you follow this link right here, it will take you to, and I'll put the link in the description down below, it'll take you to a page where I have all of the problem types written out for this year. And so you could go through and say, hey, what do I need to know when I'm doing maybe like work problems versus when I'm doing second law problems? Okay, so work problems, that's when forces dependent on position. Second law problems, those are when forces dependent on time, something like that. So this will kind of walk you through like all those problem types to kind of maybe help you make that note packet. All right. So that's kind of it for setting up that note sheet. Once you get that note sheet built, it's good to use it as you practice these FRQs. So there you go.